Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners. We'll be conducting a public hearing to consider the following on second reading. And I will read these. We have 6 items for the public hearing here. I'll read these 6 items for the record, which is number 1, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget ordinance 2025-35 to accept a grant from the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Council for the purchase of an MX 908 mass spectrometer for the City of Mount Juliet Police Department. The second one, which is an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget ordinance 2025-35 to accept the insurance and auction proceeds and appropriate funds for a vehicle for the City of Mount Juliet Police Department. The third item, which is an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for Golden Bear Place planned unit development ordinance 2024/04, located at map 78, parcel 17.01 in the City of Mount Juliet. The next item is an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for the Bender's Cove planned unit development located at 771 Bender's Ferry Road, map 49, parcel 69, 69.02, 69.03, 69.09 in the City of Mount Juliet. The next item is an ordinance to amend the land use plan for approximately 47.17 acres of property on East Division Street, map 77, parcel 13.01, 13.02, 15, 16.2, 16.3, and parts of parcel 16.1, 17, and 17.1 from medium density residential to business development impact zone. And the final item is an ordinance to amend the land use plan for approximately 5 acres of property at 107 Timber Trail Drive, map 71, parcel 1.03 from medium density residential to town center. And the public is invited to comment on any of these 6 items. If you would like to make a comment on any of these items, I'd like to invite you up to the microphone, ask you to give your name and address for the record. You'll be recognized, given 3 minutes to speak. But at 6:30, we will adjourn the public hearing and move into our regular meeting. So is there any comments on these 6 items?
Hello, my
Yes.
name is Jennifer Martyr, and I live at 533 Funding Hills Drive with my family. We live right beside this proposed development, and there are obvious personal reasons why I don't want this development to be pursued, but I'll just stick to the facts. The last time we met, I believe it was a unanimous vote that nobody wanted this to be developed for reasons around East Division. So I believe it was 2032 that East Division will not be developed properly to be able to support the 685 parking spaces that this development will have. And for that reason alone, I just feel like this is not a good decision for Mount Juliet and our community. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
James Hopper. I live 886 Bender's Ferry,
Yes, sir.
and I was wondering where the proposed extension to Bender's Cove is going to be. Is it going to be straight across from me, which is still like rural land, and the main part of the development's up on top of the hill? And is it going backwards, or is it coming down toward the lake? The plot they're talking about. I can't hardly tell anything from the maps y'all presented.
I think the only thing you talk about Bender's Cove, they're off Bender's Ferry. The only thing on the agenda tonight for Bender's Ferry is just the addressing of the COs. I think they're asking for an extension from 25 to 50, and that's in relation to the widening work that they're doing on Bender's Ferry Road.
Well, I've always lived in the county, and I don't have no desire to be in the city of Mount Juliet. You know, I've looked at that farmland as long as I've been on this earth. And I just don't like it going to be any thicker or come down. Right now, I'm still in the county as far as I know, at 886 and 908 on 2 lots.
Okay.
And for one thing, there's not been anything that I see benefiting the infrastructure. Like when you leave when you're on Highway 70 right there at Golden Bear, it goes to that 2-lane all the way past Ben's Ferry, and it backs up every day in the evening. And from what I've picked up from stuff I've read, that there's no plans to even widen that.
Oh, there's definitely plans.
Huh?
There's definitely plans to widen it.
Yeah, but it's not within the next 10 years from what I read.
Well, the plans exist. The funding is the question.
Okay. All right. But we just keep piling stuff on top of old infrastructure that can't support itself. And I'm against any more houses being put there, especially if they're right across from my property.
Yeah. Well, what we have before us tonight is to deal with the COs, which is certificate of occupancy. There is I believe I got my numbers here correct, shooting off the top of my head. I think they're capped at 25 certificate of occupancies that they can issue up until the road is widened. The road has not been widened. There's some issues with the gas company as far as moving their lines, and they're asking to change the number from 25 to 50 and have the road completed by the 50th certificate of occupancy.
Well, is that whole road going to wind up being in the city of Mount Juliet? Right now, there's kind of spot annexed it, I think.
Yeah, I believe we have annexed that entire road to do the widening through there.
No?
We didn't take that road all the way up to Traymore? And Shane, you want to explain? Matt, one of you?
We've annexed the road up to the northern property edge of the Bender's Cove development. There is widening that's taking place between the northern end of Bender's Cove and Traymore, but that is all within Wilson County jurisdiction.
Okay.
So I live on the opposite side of Bender's Cove. I'm not going to be annexed. I'm still going to
No,
be in the
sir.
county.
No, we cannot annex you unless you request annexation.
Okay, thank you. But where
This
is the new house is going to be located? Further on down, like there's a sinkhole down here at the bottom, and they hadn't touched any of that.
I don't know, sir, where the sinkholes are located, but
Well, it's
That-
not
that-
really a sinkhole, but it's just
Correct.
a dip in the land.
well, I see our planning director walking in the back there. This
What-
gentleman here has got some specifics about the Bender's Cove development that I don't have in front of me, and I'm hoping if you two could connect, because I want to keep the public hearing moving on. If anybody else has got any comments.
No.
Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record.
Yeah, good evening. My name's Amanda Kern. I live at 534 Hunting Hills Drive. I'm a neighbor of Jen's. I've lived there about a year and a half. When we moved in, we clearly knew there were warehouses in the area, but they are about 3 acres from the backside of our property, and there's a large berm where we cannot see Medline or we cannot see Amazon. This proposed agenda item tonight, I'm concerned it's 100 feet from our neighbor's house, which means it's right out our front door. I'll stand on my front porch and be able to see a warehouse. What I'm most concerned about is the opposite is we now have a lot of children in our neighborhood. It's an older community, but there's a lot of families that have moved in. I'm concerned that if a warehouse is 100 feet from our property lines, anybody could park in those warehouses, walk right into a residential area where many children are. So what I'm asking for is some type of barrier. The berm I have between me and Medline is amazing. It's really tall, it's pretty, there's a lot of trees. So if this is going to move forward, we need to move it. We need to move it away from what the proposed 100 feet is. We don't need to see the warehouses. We don't need to hear them. The light and the noise pollution is already a lot from the Amazons and the others back there. So I'm just asking for, a proposed adjustment to what is being put there. If we can't stop it,
Yeah.
at least try to get it moved.
Well, tonight, the only thing on the agenda is just the land use amendment. So
Yeah.
if the land use amendment was to pass,
Yeah.
by this body, then our pass on first reading, then we could consider the actual plans itself. But if
Yeah,
the land
ideally-
use amendment does not
Yeah.
get traction tonight, then there's really no more
Ideally, it
path.
doesn't change. There's a nice house back there, but if I can't stop that, we'll try anything else. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Connie Mitchell. I live at 511 Hunting Hills Drive, Mount Juliet. Same place the two previous ladies live. I've lived there 42 years. Mount Juliet's changed extremely a lot in 42 years. Those of us on the other side of the hill, on Hunting Hills, we actually cannot see this development because there's a hill. However, our road already has a lot of issues. We are not in the city of Mount Juliet. However, the Mount Juliet Police do help Wilson County Sheriff's Department a lot. For some reason, people think drug deals need to go down our dead end road. And so we get crazy traffic. So I'm really concerned about safety from the other end now too. This is really going to open our road up dually for criminal activity. And so like my neighbors, I would like to know that there's a definite barrier that prohibits anyone from coming into our community. 8 houses were taken out by the tornado. So those people relocated, and we have young families now with children. So that dead end is extremely full of young children that play because everybody has acreage. Everybody moved there to be outside. So ideally, I want to see Mount Juliet grow, but we have to be concerned about the safety of our communities. And that, I think that is all of our concerns. So the commission didn't pass it, by the way. Y'all knew that. So any questions? No. Thank you.
Okay. Get your name and address, please, sir.
Hey, good evening. Ray Baker, 531 Hunting Hills Drive. I'm also here tonight about the land amendment. We live just a couple parcels down from where this would be taking place, and like many of my neighbors here tonight, I'm here with my family because we have some concerns. Specifically about the proximity of what's being proposed in relation to our existing residential community. Like some of the others who have spoken, I'm definitely not anti-development. I think it absolutely has its place in our community when done responsibly. But my concern in this case is just compatibility. I do wonder about the dynamic that will be introduced if this passes and then the proposed plans for the warehouse complex follow. I think that a lot comes along with that doesn't necessarily align with the residential community. They operate on very different hours than most of our families do. And certainly there would be some noise as trucks are loaded and unloaded, some traffic. And, the limitations of East Division have already been mentioned. Bright lights and just different things like that would change the dynamic of the neighborhood. And I think my primary concern is, for my family who's here tonight and for the other families, we were very particular in where we chose to live and invest. And we did that with certain expectations, right? That it would be quiet in the evening, that it would be safe for us and for our kids, and that we would have a buffer from, heavy commercial or industrial activity. So my request tonight would just be to consider whether this is the best time to pass an amendment like this, to put a structure like this in such close proximity to a very established neighborhood. And our hope is that you would prioritize the residents who already call this place home. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we will adjourn our public hearing and we will move into our regular meeting. Good evening, everyone. Today is April 13th. I'll hereby call the meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order. We do have a quorum present, so we'll proceed with conducting the business of the city of Mount Juliet. Our first item on our agenda is to actually set the agenda itself. I have some proposed changes I'd like to submit to the board here for consideration on the agenda. I would submit moving 9B, 9C to the consent agenda. Is there any objections to the move? Okay, we will read 9B and 9C as part of consent. I'd also suggest moving items 10E and H to consent. E and H. 10E is in Edwards, H is in Hero, or Hotel, I think is the correct. Any objections? 10E, 10H? Commissioner Mullally?
I have a request.
So was that an objection?
No, are we going
Nope.
to vote on that first? Or are
Well,
we
I was just doing it
the
without
whole-
objection.
No.
Okay, no objections to that. So we move 9B, 9C, 10E, and 10H will be read as part of the consent agenda. Commissioner Mullally, your floor.
All right, I have a request to remove 10G until the next meeting.
Any objections to removing 10G from consideration? All right, hearing no objections to the removal of 10G, we will remove that from our agenda. All right. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, so far the changes we have is 9B, 9C, and I saw a finger go up.
Yeah, sorry, it's still up. Restroom. Just seeing what we added.
It's all good? All right. Without objection, we'll adopt the agenda with the changes of 9B, 9C, 10E, 10H on consent. 10G will not be heard tonight. All right. Our next item is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. So I'd ask our city manager, Mr. Martin, if you would be so kind to lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Thank you. Everybody will bow your heads, would be pleased first. Dear Lord, as we meet today, please be with us. Guide our thoughts, ideas, and decisions. Bless abundantly all who are present. Come be with us, inspire us, and lead us in our meeting together. We ask this in your name. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Everybody want me to pledge now? Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is citizen comments. I saw a gentleman ready to go on the public hearing, so we want to open the floor back up for citizen comments. If anyone would like to address the Board of Commissioners, I'd invite you to come forward, give your name and address for the record, and you will be recognized.
Hello, I'm Albert Soto. I live at 311 Bender's Ferry Road. And I wanted, since this is about the certificate of occupancy for Bender's Cove, I just wanted to kind of put out that I have not seen a completion of certain things. So the easement setback, I'm right next door to the property. And there's supposed to be a buffer zone that they were constructing with trees and stuff. Nothing's been done like that. They put grass in. And I feel if people start moving in, they're not going to do the buffer zone. So I would like them to make sure that that occurs, because it is, I can see the houses really well, which before was just farmland. The other point I was going to make is I've had damage to my property from this development, other than blasting and everything like that. But I have made inquiries into getting that resolved, and it hasn't been. So hopefully they will reach out to me about addressing those. Other than that, that's about all I have to say. It was more so about the buffer zone and the development, since you guys are doing the certificate of occupancy adjustments. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Mayor, members of the commission, my name is Tom White, 511th Avenue North in Nashville. I just make the comment, Joe Haddix and I are here to address 10B, which is the land use amendment. We'd like to be allowed to speak at that time. I think the issues we've heard so far are dealing with issues that would come with the planning commission, not so much on land use, but respectfully, we'll come back when that matter is heard. Thank you for your courtesies.
All right, thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Paul Garrettson. I live at 100 Catalpa Drive in Mount Juliet. The other night, I talked to Miss Jennifer here. We talked for like 30 minutes. You're not even my commissioner. Scott and I have yet to connect. We're about to, I know. I talked with Matt, I believe, your Matt, the other day. I just wanted to give a shout out to Matt. I gave Matt a call at about 4:45 on a Thursday. Matt called me back Friday morning at 8:05, and I think that speaks really highly of him, so I really appreciate you doing that. My family and I just moved to Mount Juliet. And I've got a lot of concerns about land, land generally. Not specifically the land that's being talked about tonight, but the land that I know is going to be talked about soon, which will be my driveway, will be my entire front yard essentially. And the idea of occupying it to put in a lot of sidewalk and other things. So I'll be coming back at those times, but I really just wanted to tell you all that I appreciate you all because I've only lived in Mount Juliet now for a month and a half, and I've received multiple calls from some of you. I've talked to my county commissioners. They've been willing to call me. My wife and I moved from Donaldson, and I was talking with everybody I've talked to so far. I've said, I feel like I've gotten a lot farther with people in Wilson County than I would have in Davidson County. So I appreciate you all, and I want that to be known. When I do come back in the future, I'm sure that there'll be plenty of frustration that I feel because there's going to be a lot of my yard that is supposed to be taken away from me. And I don't feel particularly great about that, as you could imagine. But anyway, we'll discuss it when that time comes. I do appreciate you. And again, Matt, the other day, that was incredible that you called me back so quickly. So anyway, thank you all.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
My name is Leslie Penny. I live at 705 Parthenia Lane. I'm also the property manager for the Providence HOA. I'm here in regards to item 10G, which Jennifer has deferred, and I appreciate that. This is regarding the abandonment of the right-of-way at the end of Aiden Lane, which is part of the Providence HOA. So I'm going to provide you guys with some information. All I ask is that you review the history of this before you take a vote and abandon that right-of-way. Going back about 5 or 6 years ago, the last correspondence that I received from Pulte was that connection was completely infeasible. Couldn't do it. They then took it upon themselves to try and make the connection at Escalade Drive, which is on Providence HOA property. That got torn apart and we moved on from that. But I'm just wondering what has changed and what the design now is for that connection. We were always aware that there was a possibility of a connection, but as far as we were concerned, that was dead in the water. So I would just like going forward for you to review the area. It's a really steep slope. I don't even know how a connection is feasible. So it sounds like it's deferred for tonight, but going forward, the Providence HOA would respectfully like to be notified of what the plan is because you're abandoning a right of way to a totally different HOA, although they back up to each other. And we haven't even been given any sort of notification or why can't we split that right of way instead of giving it all to Winfield. So I look forward to hearing what the next steps are. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, my name is Robin Eakes. I live at 56 West Caldwell. We have another project coming up on the West Caldwell Street, and I would like to address a few things before it gets here. First of all, I've been doing some checking, and in 2016, when the old funeral home was still there, Mr. Sellers owned it, there was never a demo permit pulled, or there was no environmental study found. I called the state, and they don't have one, and they should have done one. Then in 2019, when it went to planning, before Mr. Luke Winchester said that he felt like he had been duped on that project from the original thing that they presented and then what he presented later. Also, he was supposed to, again, which now he does have the letter from R.J. Corman, but the only thing that he had gotten at that time was a verbal commitment from Nashville Eastern. Then in 2023, he went back to do some more on the project, and we at that time were in a restricted area that we were taken out of with without anybody telling us that it was going to be amended. And it said on the amendment that it was for a developer that had bought the south side of West Caldwell, which was Sellers. Then in 2024, the water lines began and the fire hydrants. We had been asking for 30 some years, and the city always told us they didn't have the money in the budget for it. Now, all of a sudden, because Mr. Sellers wants to put something over there, they have decided to come up and do water lines and fire hydrants. Now, back to 2025, when the proposal came, we've been in and out over this about the railroad. What I would like to know is how all this is getting done. Somebody in the city is letting this go and not double checking to make sure that these items are done. He also was supposed to put railing around from Mount Juliet Road around where Dunkin' Donuts at, where the seating was at. That was not done. Somebody is signing off on this and not doing their job and checking to make sure that these things are done. And it's time to quit letting it go and quit showing favoritism and do what the rules and the laws tell you to do. I don't care who it is, do your job. Because we on West Caldwell are sick of it. We've been treated horribly, and it's time to stop it. We deserve a little bit more respect than what the city has shown us in these projects, and it's time to quit because we're going to stand our ground and we're going to stand up for what's right. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
So Stephen Heckendorf, 393 Page Drive. I couldn't be here last meeting because we're welcoming a new little one to the family.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But what I did want to say is thank you for passing the 1-year moratorium. I think that was a step in the right direction. Thank you, Mullally. I know you didn't vote for it, but thank you for moving it. That meeting when I spoke, I appreciate that because I think it's important that the discussion was had. And, you know, even though you didn't vote for it, I do appreciate you. I wish it had gone a little further, but hey, it was a step in the right direction. I want to thank you all. And that's all I have for today. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else with comments? I just point out, unlike the Planning Commission, we don't take comments at the item. So if you have anything that you want to address the commission with, I just say this is your opportunity. All right. Well, seeing none, we will close citizen comments. And we will move into commissioner comments and report. Commissioner Giles, you, sir, are recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for all y'all that came out and gave all the comments tonight. And also I want to mention that on May the 3rd is our annual Bike Mount Juliet Day. You'll see the flyer here. We had some out in the lobby, I think, but people's picked them up. So they're going quick. So hopefully this is going to be an incredible year. I want to go on and thank the fire department and the police department for what they do for this event. We have a bike rodeo for kids and I guess anybody's age if they want to, if they don't know how to ride. It's really a great thing that the police have done for many years. There's a free bicycle given away. That bicycle is furnished by the Velatiers Bicycle Club and Biker's Choice Bicycle Shop in Mount Juliet. These are really, really good bicycles. And so any child that's 12 and under can register to win that free. You just have to be present. So it's a great event. So we hope that you'll come out and join us that day. And I'm sure that Commissioner Mullally will probably say something about it as well, maybe something that I've missed. Also, for those of you who travel Clemens Road, most of you know that there's going to be some improvements done at the railroad area on the 18th of the 21st of this month, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? So it's going to be closed. So for some of us, we've got to find another route to get through. So I want to bring that to your attention. And other than that, thanks to the police for all of the taking care of all the things that's been going on the last few days and stopping these cars with, I mean, you know, you better, these people, I can't understand that they don't know yet not to come to Mount Juliet. It just blows my mind. The criminals still come and we still catch them, so thank you, Mount Juliet PD. And that concludes my comments, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll recognize our vice mayor. Sir, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. And I agree with you, Commissioner. I'll tell you, I was actually just talking to some officers on the way in, and it's impressive. Anybody that wants to come here, we are willing to help you find your destination. And that's whatever you're doing. So great job to MJPD. They're doing a great job. And I hope at some point Nashville and Lebanon and all these other cities start helping out our budget for all the time that we are taking away from their staff so we can keep cleaning up their roads. So great job to those folks out there, and keep up the great work. And thank you for everything you guys are doing. Listen, for the folks that are out here tonight, thanks again. Appreciate all the good comments. For the families that just left for the initial first meeting that we had here, was talking to the developer. Yes, it is difficult when you start looking at projects that do line up against the industrial and residential, and berms were one of my discussions. It was interesting because I actually did a Google Earth on like that end of the road down there, and noticed there was a lot of burnouts and so forth. So it was one of the other discussions was fixing that down there, along with the noise, the lighting, and the dead end road. So all those are hot topics for that project if it does move forward. One of the positives about that project is that we're going to help East Division out if it's something that the developer is going to be looking at improving. So some good benefits there because that road is also dangerous. There's a lot of traffic on East Division, and any improvement that we can get that is not going to be a burden back to the taxpayer is obviously going to be beneficial. That's been a talk for many years for the residents that drive up and down that road, and it's very dangerous. And hopefully more lighting and then widening that road will definitely increase the protection of the citizens. Over the last couple of weeks, been getting a lot of phone calls pertaining to whether if it's new development, old development. Continue on, the conversation. My phone is always available. Appreciate all the folks that are reaching out to me, whether if you're in my district or not. It's just great to hear different perspectives all over the city. So please keep those coming in. And also just want to remind folks, safety. I'm going to keep talking about it every meeting. Our kids are out playing. They are out having fun. There was a lot of residents that were talking about that. It's that time of year. So please be respectful, pay attention to what's around you. And there's no emergency that you got to rush out of your neighborhood, be flying and not paying attention. So these kids, they've been inside all winter. They want to be out on the roads, have fun, play. So give them grace. And one thing I can tell you, if there's a crosswalk, yield. Stop. I'm telling you, folks, that is my biggest pet peeve right now. There's a crosswalk. Every time I see it, people don't know how to stop. If you got people right there at the end of that crosswalk, they're waiting to cross, they have the right of way. So as residents, if you see it, bring it to other people's attention. Stop. Be courteous. You're not that big in a rush. So keep up the great job. And that's all I got, Mayor. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. We'll recognize Commissioner Hefner for his comments and reports.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate everybody coming out as always, and those watching online. I do plan on introducing myself to you. And to that, I wanted to remind anybody that's watching and online and here that if you're not sure who your elected official is, we do have a widget on the City of Mount Juliet website. Look up My Elected Official. There's a link. You put in your address, and it'll give every single one of them and their contact information from the President of the United States all the way down to the local level. So, so in the future, anybody unaware of their district or school board elected official or city or county, just go to the website and look that up. Congratulations, Stephen, new dad. Congratulations. Excellent. Your life's going to change for the better. Actually, it is. Really excited about, it's on the agenda. It's on the docket tonight. We're going to be hopefully passing a resolution that's going to put in place a resolution that's going to execute the contract for the widening of Old Lebanon Dirt Road going out towards Kelsey Glen. So this has been a long time in the making, And this is the first of many steps in finally getting the orange cones out on the street. So really looking forward to this resolution coming up. We've selected a contractor to do the work. I think 6 or 7 of them responded to an RFP. So really looking forward to getting Old Lebanon Dirt Road widened. And then also too, I do want to speak to the industrial park on East Division. I did sponsor the land use amendment on that one, or at least a consideration by the Board of Commissioners. It's the process is if it fails at the Planning Commission, it does not move forward automatically. It has to be sponsored by an elected official, one of the board members. It is state law that the elected body actually has the final say on land use amendments. So our logic when we tried to pass this to move automatically to the Board of Commissioners, the logic and reasoning behind it not automatically moving is if you don't have at least one sponsor, chances are it's not going to pass anyways. So I just want to explain it. And because I sponsor a land use amendment to the Board of Commissioners doesn't mean I'm going to vote in favor of it. I just want to get it in front of the elected body. I do want to speak to this project because it may not get a second tonight. I could fail. If you've been down Industrial East Division Street within the last 6 months, you'll notice there are several, 2, maybe even 3 industrial parks that are going up right now that are under construction. These are going to be semi trucks pulling in and out of East Division Street, going in any direction, going east or going west. And those were built in the county because they were in the county. This project that we're going to hear tonight, a large majority of this land is in the county. There's a very small piece of it in the city limits. We have an opportunity to control the berms, putting a berm, requiring a berm in the back so it blocks your view, requiring a right out so the traffic goes towards Golden Bear. We won't have that option. We're going to lose out on a much needed turning lane at Old Lebanon Dirt Road and East Division Street. We're going to miss out on all of that if we fail this land use tonight because they will build in the county like the others are doing right now. So wanted to give my logic and reasoning why I sponsor the amendment to the Board of Commissioners, but I also wanted to give you some of my thinking if this does make it to the floor for consideration. So with that, I end my comments.
Thank you, sir. That will recognize Commissioner Mullally. You're recognized for 5 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone again for coming out and expressing your views and speaking because it's not easy to get up there and speak, especially if you've never done it before. Congrats on your new baby. So I appreciate that. And as far as the Ride Mount Juliet, this is the 11th year, I believe, the 11th annual. So it's one of our BPAC's biggest event. And in case you don't know, BPAC is Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And so we're looking forward to that. If it's a rain out, the rain out date is May 17th, same time. And if you bring your kids to the rodeo that the police have, it's prior to 2 o'clock. So if you come at 2 o'clock, you're going to miss the rodeo. So make sure you come before. Let's see, I had some notes. I don't want to leave anything out. The whole trail is 3.3 miles and it's pretty flat. We'll be going in the back of Charlie Daniels Park, taking the Cedar Creek Greenway out to Golden Bear, where the fire truck will be waiting on us, and they'll take us the rest of the way around, go down, turn on Woodridge, and come back through and go back to the park. Let's see. And I also, on the business park project, again, I appreciate Commissioner Hefner sponsoring to bring that back. This, again, is just the land use. It's not the plan itself. The only way the plan can be heard is if the land use passes. So I will be supporting that or giving a second to move that forward with the condition that if the plan itself fails, the land use will revert back to what it is now. So I'll be doing that because I would like the plan to be heard. And I had one other thing, which I can't read my writing, but oh well. So that's all I had.
All right. Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. I'll just add as a public service announcement, early voting starts Wednesday, so get out and vote. And I just thank everybody for the calls. I was absent for the last meeting, and I appreciate all the calls and everybody that reached out on that. And it's just a family event. That wasn't the reason why I was out, but it just lined up at the same time, all those things. And I appreciate the calls and the support and everything that I've gotten and the prayers as well. But with that, I'll conclude my comments. Recognize our city manager for his comments and report.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight, and those that didn't get to stick around and those watching from home. I want to give a big shout out. Thank you, Commissioner, for pointing that out about Public Works. Public Works for years, every day, tirelessly. It takes years for these things to happen. There's lots of reasons, environmental issues, engineering issues, right away, you name it, utility relocation, and it takes years. So I want to give a shout out to our entire Public Works team for the hard work they do to get these projects to that point. City's been doing this kind of stuff for years, working, I guess you'd say, with the developers as well, because a lot of these road improvements come as a result of the developments. But the things the city's done, for example, can you imagine today not having Golden Bear? When it first opened and there was just a few cars trickling down it before anybody knew it was there, we wondered what would become of Golden Bear. And I can't imagine not having it and a lot of the other road improvements. So I want to give a big shout out to the Public Works Department because it takes years to get those things to shovel ready. So as we like to say, what was it about they said about the barrels? If you're seeing barrels, that's a good thing. It's almost like our state bird. A barrel is a good thing if you see it. So thanks everybody for your patience that you've been doing with on Old Lemon Dirt Road. I think the crews have done a phenomenal job out there keeping traffic going. The flagman, things of that nature has been very safe. So thank you for that. I also want to encourage everybody because, like I said, our city runs on this. We talk about it all the time through our elected body, our staff, shopping local. There's been literally tons of new businesses opened in 2025. There's a lot of new businesses that are opening up this year. And a lot of people don't realize this, but the businesses that open, the majority of those businesses are mom and pop businesses, folks that invest their entire life savings in to take a chance and hope somebody comes in the doors. For example, we just had Spuds and Butter. They did always want to get that backwards, but they just opened up last week. Just a sweet family. The whole family works in some shape, form, or fashion. And they were in another county. They had a fire, I think it was, decided to sell their property, and then they moved their business here, renamed it. And when you meet these people and realize what they've put into that, it's pretty phenomenal. So please shop local with all their new businesses. There'll be some announcements coming real soon, hopefully on the Whataburger location, the Sonic location in Providence, also something coming there. And then another business that hasn't closed that will be closing that there's already a backup tenant for. So we're working tirelessly through our ECD department and with local brokers and things of that nature to bring new businesses to town. And, I can't believe how diversified Mount Juliet's got. If you've got big taste buds and you're looking for restaurants to come to, you need to come to Mount Juliet, Tennessee, because there is just a plethora of new restaurants. And there's menus and things I've seen on menus that I've never heard of in my life. So if you want to explore fine dining, come to Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And then last but not least, this is our 250th anniversary for our country's birthday. And we're trying to encourage as many businesses and homeowners to please start posting the American flag. If you've got a flagpole out there, put a flag on it. If you don't, go to Lowe's, they carry them, and buy one if it's just even one that you put on your post out on your front porch. And if you're a business, several businesses have done that recently. US Community Credit Union just put a brand new flagpole up. Really thankful for that. Please show your pride in your country. We're blessed to live in this country and very thankful. So God bless Mount Juliet and God bless America and God bless everybody. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. And buy that flag locally, by the way, too. We just completed number 7 there on our agenda. So the next item is 4, which is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of March 23rd. A motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? I'll abstain. We'll move into I-8, which obviously follows 4, which is, I'm messing around. I missed the minutes. I had to get up while Mr. Martin was speaking and confirmed with the recorder. I said, I just blew by the minutes, didn't I? So appreciate you guys indulging me on that one. But our next item on our agenda is 8, which is unfinished consent agenda. And I will read that for the record. We have 5 items on that, which is 8A, an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for Golden Bear Place. Plan unit development ordinance 24-4 located at map 78, parcel 17.1 in the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee. 9B, which is an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget ordinance 2025-35 to accept a grant from the Opioid Abatement Council for the purchase of an MX908 mass spectrometer for the city of Mount Juliet Police Department. And the 9C, which is an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget ordinance 2025-35 to accept insurance and auction proceeds and appropriate funds for a vehicle for the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee Police Department. 10E, which is an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for Providence Central Planned Unit Development Ordinance 2013-12, located at map 97, parcel 23, part of 25 and 75.07 in the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And H, which is a resolution approving the award of construction contract for Old Lebanon Dirt Road widening project and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. All in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Those 5 items do pass on the consent agenda, so we will move into unfinished business. The first item, which is 9A, which is an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for Bender's Cove planned unit development located at 771 Bender's Ferry Road, map 49, parcel 69, 69.02, 69.03, 69.09 in the city of Mount Juliet. Have a motion and second. The item's on the floor. This is being reintroduced under Commissioner Hefner's sponsorship, so I'll offer you the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Can we get, excuse me, representation?
And name and address, please.
Chris Cowan, Meritage Homes, 2555 Meridian Boulevard, Suite 100, Franklin.
So question for you, not a question. Can you cover what all improvements you've done up to this point? What percentage is remaining? And what's the status that you're hearing from Piedmont, their schedule?
Sure. So I think as a part of the original PUD, we were required to widen Bender's Ferry Road from Lebanon Road to our northern property line, which is plus or minus 3,000 feet from the existing 2-lane section to 3 lanes, plus adding the 10-foot wide pedestrian path on the west side. So that was sort of total scope. To date, we've done the widening and the walking path in front of our frontage, which is roughly 2,000 of the 3,000. And then what remains is from Lebanon Road to our southern boundary, which is at grade. Most of the utilities are complete, and that's where we have the conflict with the gas company. They've been working, I think when I was here in January and February, we felt like they were non-committal on start date. We finally got them started, I think, sometime in February. They're really non-committal on finish date yet, but even I was swung by there on the way in. Based on what I'm seeing, they really lack the stretch in front of George Church or just north of George Church. We think they're sometime end of April, early May, finishing up, and then we have about 30 days behind them to finish the widening, which will be the paving and the walking trail, 30 to 45. So we still think if they'll complete mid-May, early May to mid-May, that we can be done with the full scope of the widening that was required sometime by end of June, early July.
Okay. Are all the other utilities been relocated?
Yes.
Any other?
Yes, sir.
So the only thing that's left, which typically gas is the last thing that gets moved, but water, any storm, all of that's been
there were
done.
no water conflicts. The storm's in our control, so we're installing it, but that's sort of the hiccup right now is they've got to finish some of their work, and then we'll come in behind them and finish our storm work. So they have us held up, not intentionally, but just in the order of operations.
So once they're completed with their move, how much longer do you need to do your storm work?
A
And
little bit.
is that part of their 45 days?
Yes, sir. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, when they're, and we're all jumping around each other, they'll complete some work in some section. We'll come right behind them and finish everything we can up to their, where the part of work they have in progress. Then they'll jump into another part of the job. So we're just sort of jumping around as one group finishes, the other group's right behind with the next task.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
I got a question, this procedural question. Since this comes to from the planning commission, and between first and second reading, does it have to skip a meeting? Yeah, Ms. Hamlin, I think you know.
We actually have already posted the notice for this one.
Okay.
They requested to be on last month's agenda or the last agenda, but due to the public notice requirements, we moved it to this one.
So if this was first reading, then it could come back next meeting for second reading?
I believe it's 21 days, so they'd have to, and we don't have a Memorial Day meeting, so it's June the 11th, I believe is the next one.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't call you, and I didn't promise to call you, but I told somebody I'd call you, and I didn't. And I know everybody's shocked, a politician, total lie. I got behind, but I did talk to somebody I have a lot of respect for, and they did give me a different perspective on this. I don't. I'm not a fan of development going up that road either anyway. So, and that's a separate issue, but I will acknowledge the work that you guys have done and the effort that you put into it. If I was in the same boat, I would want a little grace myself, I believe, in this situation, if there was legitimately things outside of my control that was held on that. So I do have a lot of respect for them and kind of had a change of heart on it from my initial position on this thing. I do have a concern about this coming back as second reading instead of first reading. I believe it should be first reading. And I think when it did not proceed at the last meeting on second reading, that was the end of the legislative process. And I think it should start over on first reading. It is listed as second reading on here to pass it tonight. I'm not asking to change anything. I'm just going on the record saying that I think it should start over on the legislative process. Anyone else have comments? Commissioner Mullally.
Didn't it actually pass first reading? I'm confused.
It did, but on second reading, it did not get a second, so
Right.
it technically failed. I just don't think we can preserve a first reading indefinitely like that. Commissioner Giles?
I just wanted to ask the question. I had thought about this, and I was in favor of this before too, but I've got a question. So y'all did all of your work on this. Of course, when this was passed, I wasn't here. So you've done all your preliminary work on this, and what made this particular company, which would be the gas company, why didn't y'all identify that there was going to be a problem ahead of time instead of waiting and then come to us at this time? I mean, y'all should have done your due diligence and found out that it's going to take X to move it. It's going to take this much time. It's going to take this much work. It's going to take this much resources. I'd like that explained.
I think there's two pieces to it. During the gas main has been there. Our design changed a couple of times trying to dodge some utilities, which sort of forced this conflict. But then I think the second part is the gas company. I have no way to push them, control them, force them to start, finish, go faster, go slower. So that's once we got started, even when I was here in January and February, they were telling us, here's a start date, and they just didn't start. And I have even Kenny jumped in a couple of times trying to help assist just with some points of contact to see if we could accelerate it, and it just hasn't happened.
So they told you one thing and did something else. Is that what you're saying?
I would say more that they were just non-committal. I mean, there were a couple times, yes, they said we are starting on X, and then they did not. And then, I mean, for the most part, it's been just less than committal on start and completion dates.
Well, in that area did all the other utilities, what other utilities had to be moved?
On that side of the road, there's only gas.
Okay.
As far as existing underground utilities.
Okay.
West Wilson's on the opposite side.
Okay. So when did y'all contact them in your construction process though? Was this just when you were getting into it, not long before it was ready to say, hey, we're going to have our 25 COs, or did y'all plan on this ahead of time?
Recognizing the conflict in our storm system and their gas was late last year, fall. So that's when we started reaching out to them and said, hey guys, we have a conflict in our utilities as far as the minimum separations they wanted between the two. Because I think we came to Planning Commission in December, which was before we had any COs. It was just, but reaching out to them about having a conflict was probably last September, October.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Hefner, you were asking for the floor?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just was asked our city attorney about your comments you had mentioned. I think there's some gray area on this that we probably will shore up in future meetings, but the fact that there was no official action taken on that second reading, I think there's some gray area that I think going forward would need to work out. I think a lack of a second doesn't, in my opinion, is not an official action taken by a vote. Even though a vote doesn't occur, I don't believe an official action was taken. It could carry on. So again, this is going to be a agree to disagree, but some gray area that obviously we have to address going forward. So it's pretty clear how we handle when we don't get a second.
Well, I find Robert's rules pretty clear on that, but I don't think I don't have any desire to pursue it any further tonight. But is there anyone else that has any comments on the item before us? We ready to vote? All right. All in favor of 9A, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That does pass.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. The next item is 10A, which is an ordinance to amend Part B of the Land Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the Zoning Regulations 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 6, Section 61037, Design Standards for Commercial Structures, and Article 7, Section 71039, Building Design. Motion second. The item is on the floor. Any questions or comments? All in favor of 10A, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 10A does pass. The next item is 10B, which is an ordinance to amend the land use plan for approximately 47.17 acres of property on East Division Street, map 77, parcel 13.01, 13.02, 15, 16.02, 16.03, and part of parcel 16.01, 17, and 17.01 from medium density residential to business development impact zone. A motion second. 10B is on the floor. Commissioner Hefner, it's under your sponsorship. Would you like the floor?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I said most of my comments during my report. As I mentioned, we've got industrial that's being built on East Division Street right now. As far as the likelihood of a residential community being built on that piece of property right next to a giant Amazon distribution center, I guess anything could happen, but highly unlikely it would. There is some components to this that I'd like for the representation to come up and speak to with regards to the use. Do we have representation? Does someone coming up? I know we're talking about the land use amendment, but I think it's important that we understand.
My name is Tom Noble. My company is West Development. I'm at 600 Highway 169 North in Golden Valley, Minnesota. So I'm here for Minneapolis tonight. I'm here to answer any questions that you have about our preliminary design or the land use amendment. So ask away. I have my representation here, my engineer, and Tom White, the attorney who you all know. So fire away.
Yeah, I know this is a land use amendment and we're not getting into the actual plans itself, but I think it's important to point out some things that you've already committed to in the plans, some road improvements that you're making.
Yes.
At East Division Street and Old Lebanon Dirt Road, a left turn lane. Again, that's a road that's, I say is one of the most dangerous roads in Mount Juliet is East Division Street. You are going to be requiring a right out from that facility to force the distribution trucks to go towards Golden Bear and I think it's actually not just a sign. I think you're actually building a wedge.
Correct.
That would prevent them from even accidentally making a left-hand turn. So you're actually putting some physical measures in place that would prevent that or make it very difficult for someone in a truck to go left.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's based on not only our planning commission comments, but after talking to many of you and getting your concerns out, I think our plan is to do just what you're saying, is a right out, left in type of structured median that's not just going to be a mountable curb. It'll be a sizable structure that'll force all that traffic to go right to Golden Bear and will disallow traffic coming out of the truck courts to the left down towards Mount Juliet Road. So that's locked in. What we can't do is stop traffic from coming down from Mount Juliet Road and turning into our property. That's the only thing we can't control. But yeah, it's our intent to give good traffic control to get that over to Golden Bear Parkway.
Okay.
Or Gateway, excuse me.
And just to confirm, the majority of this project is in the county, correct?
Is that true, Phil? Yes. Yeah, what I told you before is true. I just wanted to make sure with my guys I wasn't making a mistake. But
that's all I had. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Mullally, recognized.
I'm going to support this because I would like the plan to be heard. But I have a list of questions once the plan is heard and it comes back. So I know that I can't ask plan questions since this only has to do with the land use amendment. But I am going to motion that in case the plan were to fail, that the land use amendment reverts back to what it is currently.
Okay. She
That's a
said she was
motion.
going to make a motion. Oh, that was a motion? Okay.
Yeah, that was the motion.
Questions or comments on the advisement of the motion? Or the amendment? All right. All in favor of the amendment to if the PUD fails, our preliminary master development plan fails, that the land use amendment reverts back to its current status. Is that right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Back on 10B as once amended. All right. All in favor of 10B as amended one time, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That does pass on first reading. Is there any objection to for the consideration of C and D together? That's an objection? Okay, no objections? Okay. I'll read 10C and 10D, 10C, which is an ordinance to amend the land use plan for approximately 5 acres of property at 107 Timber Trail Drive, map 72, parcel 1.03 from medium density residential to town center, and 10D, which is an ordinance to rezone approximately 5 acres of property at 107 Timber Trail Drive, map 72, parcel 1.03 from AR40 to CTC. Motion and a second. The item is on the floor. Questions or comments? Hope that didn't hurt. All right. All in favor of 10C and 10D, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? 10C, 10D does pass on first reading. The next item is 10F, an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for Traymore planned unit development located off Benders Ferry Road, map 32, parcel 31, 29, 29.02, 29.01 in the city of Mount Juliet. Motion and second. 10F is on the table. Questions or comments? I guess my only comment is just thinking out loud, would this have been considered if the other one hadn't have been? So I don't. All right. All in favor of 10F, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Does pass on first reading. The next item on the agenda is an appointment to the Alcoholic Beverage Board. I'd like to submit Carolyn Christopherson for consideration by the Board of Commissioners. All in favor of the appointment for Carolyn, please signify by saying aye. All right, she is duly appointed. Do you remember? Oh, yes, you're exactly right. It was Preston George that stepped down because the change of the schedule was incompatible with his job. So that was what happened. Any other questions? I'm sorry. Any other items for consideration? Not. All right. Any objections to adjournment? Hearing none, we're adjourned.